The gravity chamber was never meant for humans. It stood deep inside the Virillian military station, built from layers of black metal and glowing control lines. The room was old, dangerous, and feared. Even trained Virillian soldiers avoided it unless ordered. The Virillians were born on heavy worlds. Their bones were thick, their muscles were dense. Gravity shaped them from birth. And still, they feared this chamber. At full power, it could break bodies, it could crush lungs, it could turn strong soldiers into shaking wrecks. Today, a human stood inside it. His name was Elias Kane. He did not look impressive. He was shorter than most soldiers in the room. His frame was lean, almost thin. His uniform hung loose on his shoulders. To the alien observers, he looked fragile, weak. A few officers whispered behind the glass wall. "Humans are soft-world creatures. He will not last. This test is pointless." Elias stood alone at the center of the chamber. The metal floor felt cold under his boots. He rolled his shoulders once and took a slow breath. The test began. Gravity increased. 2 times standard gravity. Elias felt the weight pull at his body. His boots pressed harder into the floor. His spine tightened. He adjusted his stance, spreading his feet slightly wider. Outside the chamber, monitors showed stable readings. The observers waited. Gravity rose again, 3 times standard. The air felt thick now. Elias's chest worked harder. His arms felt heavy, like they were filled with stone. Sweat formed on his forehead. Still, he remained standing. Some of the aliens shifted in their seats. 4 times gravity. This was where most species failed. Records flashed on the screens, broken bones, collapsed organs, soldiers screaming before the system shut down. Elias's knees bent. His face tightened in pain, but he did not fall. The room went quiet. Gravity climbed higher, 5 times. Elias grunted as his body shook. His vision darkened at the edges. His teeth clenched. Every breath burned. Other species never reached this point. Bones cracked on screen in past tests. Limbs folded the wrong way. Bodies slammed into the floor. Elias dropped to one knee. Several observers relaxed. "This is the end," one officer said. Engineers looked nervous. Warning symbols appeared across the control panels. The test had already passed safe limits. "This is beyond human tolerance," an engineer warned. "We should stop." But the commander did not look away from the chamber. "Increase gravity," he said. The room froze. "Commander," the engineer said again, "that is maximum." The commander's voice was cold. "Do it." Alarms screamed. Red lights flashed. Gravity locked at full power. The floor groaned under the pressure. The air itself seemed to press downward. Inside the chamber, Elias's hands slammed against the metal floor. For a moment, he stayed there, still, silent. Then, his fingers moved. Slowly, painfully, he pushed his palm flat against the ground. Muscles shook. Veins stood out along his arms. With a low breath, Elias forced his body upward. Not fast, not strong, but steady. His knee lifted, his foot planted, and Elias Kane stood. The council members stared in disbelief. At maximum gravity, the human took one slow step forward and refused to fall.
Medical systems began to scream. Red warnings filled the screens outside the chamber. Internal damage detected. Muscle fibers tearing. Blood pressure reaching lethal levels. The numbers climbed fast. Alien medics exchanged uneasy looks. No species could survive readings like this, not for more than a few seconds. They waited for the human to collapse. Inside the chamber, Elias Kane took another step. His boots scraped against the metal floor. Each movement felt like lifting a mountain. His chest burned with every breath. His heart hammered inside his ribs. Pain flooded his body. It was everywhere, in his legs, in his back, in his bones. His vision blurred. The room darkened at the edges. Sweat ran down his face and dripped onto the floor. Still, he kept moving, slowly, one step, then another. An officer leaned closer to the glass. Why is he still standing? No one answered. Scientists began to argue behind the observation wall. This defies known biology. Humans are not built for high gravity. His body should have failed already. The data did not lie. The readings were real. Elias should have been unconscious or dead. Then one researcher went silent. Her eyes stayed fixed on the movement logs. "Wait," she said slowly. "Look at the pattern." The others turned. Elias's steps were changing. Not faster, not stronger, smarter. Each step was shorter than the last. His feet landed wider. His spine stayed low. His breathing followed a rhythm. Slow in, slower out. He was not pushing against the gravity. He was working with it. The researcher's voice shook. He is adjusting his body, micro movements, balance shifts, muscle rotation. "Adapting?" someone asked. "Yes," she said, "he is adapting." Inside the chamber, Elias no longer tried to stand tall. He leaned forward, letting gravity press him down instead of fighting it. His muscles trembled, then settled into a new pattern. The pain did not stop, but it changed. The chamber was meant to break bodies. Instead, it was reshaping him. The council members watched in growing fear. "This is not endurance," one said quietly. "This is learning." If a human could adapt under this pressure, what would happen in combat, under fire, under war conditions? The chamber had revealed something dangerous. Humans did not need perfect conditions. They used bad ones. The commander's claws tightened around the arm of his chair. "End the test," someone urged, but the order did not come. Inside, Elias reached the center of the chamber. Every step to that point had felt impossible. His legs screamed. His lungs begged for air. His heart felt ready to tear itself apart. He stopped. For a moment, he simply stood there. Gravity pressed down with full force. Then Elias lifted his head. His eyes met the observers through the thick glass. His face was pale. His body shook. And then he smiled. Not wide, not proud, just calm, as if to say, "I'm still here." The room fell silent. The aliens understood then. The gravity chamber had not tested the human. It had taught him, and that realization terrified them. The test ended without celebration. The gravity controls powered down in silence. The crushing weight inside the chamber faded. The metal floor stopped groaning. Elias Kane collapsed, not in defeat, but because his body no longer needed to stand. Medical teams rushed into the chamber. Alien medics moved fast, their faces tight with worry. Scanners passed over Elias's body. Readings spiked, then slowly settled. Severe strain, extreme stress, survival confirmed. The human lived. Around the chamber, no one spoke. There were no cheers, no applause, no words of praise, only fear. Council members stared at the human lying on the floor. This was not how the test was meant to end. It was designed to show limits. Instead, it showed something worse. Days later, the reports spread across the galaxy. They moved quietly at first. Classified files, restricted channels, private councils. Then they leaked.
Human physiology reclassified. Human resilience upgraded. Human threat potential unknown. That last line worried everyone. Military doctrines were reviewed, long-standing strategies were questioned, training manuals were rewritten from the first page to the last. Gravity weapons were no longer listed as a guaranteed solution. Some species removed them completely. Others increased research funding, desperate to understand what had happened inside that chamber. The answer never came, because it was not written in numbers. It was written in behavior. Humans did not break when pushed. They changed. One senior council member spoke during a closed session. His voice was low, careful. "If this is what a human does under pressure," he said, "what happens when they choose to push back?" No one answered. On a recovery deck far from the council chambers, Elias Kane woke up. His body hurt. Every muscle burned. His joints ached. His head felt heavy. He could barely move his fingers. A human medic leaned over him and smiled. "You scared them," she said softly. Elias closed his eyes. "I didn't mean to," he replied. He recovered slowly. Days turned into weeks. His strength returned piece by piece. The pain faded, but the memory stayed. When he was cleared for duty, Elias returned to his unit. There were no medals waiting for him, no speeches, no ceremonies, just quiet looks. Alien soldiers watched him differently now, not with anger, not with hate, with caution. Some avoided him, others studied him, a few nodded with respect. Across the galaxy, training academies changed how they spoke about humans. They stopped calling them fragile. They stopped calling them weak. Instead, they used a new phrase, unpredictable under pressure. And whenever aliens argued about limits, about strength, endurance, or control, they remembered one image, a human inside a gravity chamber, warning lights flashing, bones screaming, the universe pressing down with everything it had, and the human walking when gravity itself begged him to fall.